On December 28th, 2023, I would purchase Dark Souls 1 on Steam. I had only played some of Elden Ring before this point, and had heard the word Souls game probably a handful of times at most up to that point. The only reason that I even bought this game was that I had been watching some YouTubers that were going through and playing all the Souls games, so I thought, well, why the hell not? I'll go and try it as well. What I didn't realize though is that this game would completely change how I look at video games in general, and have a massive impact on my life and the games I played. This game changed everything for me. On the first day that I played Dark Souls, I created my handsome character, got through Undead Asylum pretty easily, and then ended up at Firelink Shrine. I would love to say that I was in complete awe and fell in love with Firelink Shrine, and got completely captivated by the game and just couldn't put it down at all. I was just madly in love with it. But I would be lying to you. I ran around Firelink Shrine, talked to the NPCs there, went to the graveyard as many people do, got my ass kicked, went back and tried to go into the cave that led to the catacombs, and almost immediately died again. I ran around a bit more, went to the very beginning of Undead Burg, died, and got off. I got bored and I really thought, man, there goes $40, how awesome. And to be honest, there was a good chance that that was where that was going to end. In another universe, I never came back to the game, and man, I don't ever want to experience that universe. They probably drink piss and piss nails. Luckily, however, that's not what happened. Instead, I ended up watching a fuck ton of Dark Souls content, mostly channels that were also doing the first Dark Souls 1 playthrough, and that day, I found a lot of the Soulsborne YouTubers that I actually watch today, which is actually really cool to me. But the biggest thing from watching those videos is that it got me to pick it back up. I thought that maybe it isn't that bad, and I just need to give it a little bit more time, you know, let it cook. And so the next day, I got back on Dark Souls, and my God, my experience was so much different than the first day. Instead of getting bored and getting off after an hour, I played and played and played some more and played a little bit more, and then just a little bit more, and then just a smidge more after that. Hours and hours went by before I took a break. I was completely hooked on Dark Souls 1. I want to say it was probably close to 5 or 6 hours straight I played, and the only reason I even took a break was because I had to eat dinner. And guess what I did after that? Well, I took a shower, of course. I didn't want to stink. And then guess what I did? That's right, I played more Dark Souls. And just a little information for you guys here, I was on winter break during this time, so I had literally all day, every day, to play this game, and that is exactly what I wanted to do, and it's exactly what I did do. It was almost like it was destined to be. I remember going through the world, talking to all the NPCs, talking to my beautiful boy, Solaire of Astora, after getting through the hellish area of Undeadburg. And looking back on it now, Undeadburg isn't hard or anything, but on my first playthrough, it was pretty tough for me. I was still a terrible gamer at the time, and I wasn't good at it. I don't remember where I stopped on the second day of playing, but I do want to say it was around the bell gargoyles. I'd gotten stuck on them, and to be honest, the damn run back was basically as hard as the boss for me. Again, not because the boss was actually hard, I was just really shit at the game. And to be honest, I rage quit. I just got mad and stopped for the rest of the day. Now, this would also be the first time that I would experience this strange phenomenon that I like to call the Dark Souls paradox. Even after getting mad and saying that I hate the fucking game, getting really pissed off and rage quitting, even when I would still be mad, a part of me would just want to come back to it. Even just like 10 minutes after getting off because I was so mad, I wanted to come back. And now I know that this is probably something that is actually pretty common with people. I'm pretty sure I've seen it around before, this same kind of paradox, weird shit. But it was the first time that it happened to me, and it was really weird. I had never felt that before. I had never gotten mad at a game and then immediately wanted to get back on it. It was very strange. But every time that that did occur, I would listen to the part of me that wanted to go back and play it, because I just couldn't stop. I was completely addicted to Dark Souls. Now, somewhat early into the game, I think it might have been right after Quelaag, but to be honest, I don't really remember. It's been forever since I played the game for the first time. I would find myself in the Darkroot Basin, and if you don't know, there's a Black Knight there. A Black Knight that is wielding the Black Knight halberd. I encountered this dastardly foe and vanquished him after a few tries, and when I killed him, he would drop the Black Knight halberd. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea how absolutely insanely broken this damn weapon was. I just liked the weapon. I really liked halberds in general, and the weapon I was using before this was just the base normal halberd. I was like, fuck, this is a better halberd? Hell, I'll use it. And yeah, I really liked using it because the damage was insane. I would end up beating most of the game with this weapon, and I can't help but feel that I missed out in a way, because I sort of steamrolled through the rest of the game. Like, Ornstein and Smo. Fucking Ornstein and Smo took me 2 tries. 2 tries on my first playthrough, and I know for a goddamn fact that a big part of that was because of the Black Knight halberd. I just feel like I went through the game very quickly because I was so overpowered, and I just feel like I kind of missed out on some of the Dark Souls experience. And absolutely, if I could, I would go back and tell myself to just not use the weapon, because I think I would have overall had a more enjoyable time. And I'm not saying that using overpowered weapons is wrong. If you want to, that's perfectly fine. I don't really care. I just kind of wish I did it on my first playthrough. But yes, as I said, I got through most of the game pretty quickly and would find myself at the final boss. However, I wouldn't be fighting Gwyn just yet, because I had a date with the DLC. And holy shit, the DLC was amazing. And mind you, I was coming off of Lost Izalith, which I'll be talking about later in this damn video. So this was a huge breath of fresh air. It was seriously peak. It is such a good DLC. Oh my god, it's so good. Artorias is easily one of my favorite bosses of all time. He's my favorite Dark Souls boss, and definitely up there as one of my favorite Soulsborne bosses. The DLC was also the first time in a long time when playing Dark Souls that I had actually really gotten stuck. It took me hours to beat Artorias, hours to beat Manus, and hours to beat Calamite. But man, once I did beat him, the rush of finally beating them was amazing. It was seriously like nothing else. It was the first time that I had really gotten that rush from beating a boss, and I couldn't help but want more. After the DLC detour, I was finally ready to fight Gwyn, and to be honest, I was a smidge disappointed, which I'll also talk about later. I just can't help but feel like it should have been better for the final boss. I mean, the music is definitely great, incredibly memorable. Once I did finish the game though, I was really stunned at just how much I enjoyed this game. From the first day I played it and being completely bored, to then the second day and just completely getting entranced by Dark Souls, I couldn't put it down. It was so fun. It really was an amazing experience that I recommend everyone try at least once. Even if you're not a big Soulsborne person, give it a try. I wasn't at all. And then I played Dark Souls 1 and here I am now. But now there was an itch that I had to scratch. An itch that would lead me to Dark Souls 2. But that's for a whole nother video. I would eventually 100% the game, and while it was very, very annoying at times, I did have fun doing so. Now that I have explained my love for the game, It might seem a bit strange what I'm going to be saying later in this video. Don't worry though, the glazing isn't over, and not even close, but the hate I have for this game, or at least some of this game, is going to be here. And with that, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. There's something about the first half of Dark Souls that will forever have a place in my heart. From Undead Asylum to Anor Londo, Dark Souls is one of my favorite gaming experiences ever. Like, probably not my number one, but definitely my number two. Number one will always be reserved for Red Dead 2, but again, different video. Which is kind of crazy to me that I would rank it all the way up as my number two gaming experience. Maybe? I'd have to think, but it might be. It's definitely up there and is at least in the top 5. And what baffles me of that is that I find basically all the Souls games to be better than the first half of Dark Souls. Bloodborne, Sekiro, Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, all of them I think are better than the first half of Dark Souls 1. But even still, I can confidently say that the first part of Dark Souls 1 is one of my favorite gaming experiences, even though I would probably still rather play Elden Ring or Sekiro, but still, when I think about it, I gravitate towards the first half of Dark Souls 1 when I talk about my favorite Soulsborne experiences. I do have some reasons towards why this might be. One is the world. I mean, the world in Dark Souls 1 is seriously amazing. I have very little to say that's bad about it, at least in the first half. Because in the grand scheme of things, the Dark Souls map isn't that big, but they make it feel so huge. Just right under the Firelink Shrine are the Catacombs, Tomb of the Giants, and New Londo Ruins. And right above it is Undeadburg and maybe other stuff. Undeadburg is the only one that came to my mind now. And that's just what is above and below Firelink Shrine. There's still so much else that kind of expands past and around it. And there are so many areas that feel so far away, but really aren't that far. And that's because of the downright beautiful way that Dark Souls is connected. All of the amazingly thought out shortcuts that shorten runbacks by a crazy amount. And it just made me think like, wow, this is like really, really cool. Especially like the elevator from Undeadburg to Firelink Shrine. Seriously blew my mind out of my head. I had thought I had went so far, trudged through the hell, just to go down a pretty quick elevator and then right back up at Firelink Shrine. I thought I was so far away, and yet I'm literally right there. I'm right above it. It was pretty cool to see, and in many ways, everything is just right next to each other. Nothing's really that far away. The world alone, just itself, is a huge reason why I love this game. Another example is when I found out that Blighttown was connected to Firelink Shrine. I almost shit my pants with happiness. I was so relieved to see such a peaceful place after literally going through actual goddamn hell. Well, I guess not actual hell. That's reserved for somewhere else. I seriously did not think that it could get any worse than Blighttown. There's no way it could at all, right?
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
And then finding out that New Londo Ruins was literally right beneath all that, I had no idea until the very end of the game. I'd had no idea for like 50 hours that there was an entire area all the way underneath Firelink Shrine that I was just missing. It was crazy. The game just continued to blow me away and impress me over and over the entire time. I didn't know how it could get better, and it continued to. And then, the climax, when you get lifted up by those ugly-ass bird things, I don't know what they are, over into Anor Londo, cutscene is seriously probably my favorite, like, Souls series cutscene, which I know there aren't a lot of them anyway, but just in general is one of my favorite scenes of anything in any of the Souls games. It's amazing. Enter Londo is stunning. It is a beautiful, amazing looking area that's a crazy contrast between the rest of the game before that. And then what blew my mind even more was them hiding the painted world just behind a painting, just a big painting in the big like church area. Nothing that really tells you it's there. I had no idea it was there. I was just lucky enough that I had the doll with me and I discovered it, and I felt so awesome finding this area because it didn't tell me anything about it. I just stumbled across it. It's that kind of discovery that just I love from these games, and it was one of the first times that I really felt that kind of feeling of discovery with that in this game. And of course, I can't talk about Enter Londo without talking about my favorite base game boss, Ornstein and Smough. I love this boss. Literally, I don't have really much to say like bad about them. I just love this boss. It's a really cool arena, and I just really like the bosses. They're fun to fight, and I hate duo fights. Like, I really fucking hate them. FromSoft does not do them well a lot. But when FromSoft does get the duo fights right, mwah, chef's kiss. So good. If you couldn't guess by this point, I love this game, especially and mostly the first half of the game. But now that I've talked about the first half of the game, it's time to talk about the latter half. It's time to descend to hell. So, the second half of this game has quite the reputation among people, and not a good one. Not at all. The fall off between the first and second half of this game seriously needs to be studied. It's honestly impressive. Now, I am completely aware that it wasn't really FromSoft's fault that it ended up being like this. They were heavily rushed to finish the game. I don't know the details, I just know they were super duper rushed to finish the game, and they weren't able to create the every area how they wanted to. But like, man, were they really that rushed? I mean, seriously, FromSoft, were you that rushed that Lost Izalith had to look like this? That the Tomb of Giants had to look like that? I feel that areas like the Tomb of Giants and Lost Izalith could have been some of the better areas in the game if they had the time to have been fleshed out. I really do believe that, but we're never going to be able to find that out, which is a bummer. But enough dwelling on what could have been, it's time to get really fucking furious with this game. When I got myself the Lord Vessel from Guinevere and was entering the second half of the game, I was so excited. I thought to myself, if this is only halfway, then there's so much more amazing content left. And yet, how innocent and naive I was. For my past self was about to find out that the second half of the game was in fact not amazing, but kind of fucking shit. Now, I'm aware that there are more areas in the second half of the game than just Tomb of Giants and Lost Izalith, but they're the ones I'm going to touch on in this video because they're the ones I feel are affected the most by this second half curse. So I'm going to start with the Tomb of Giants. I want to save the worst shit for last. The Tomb of Giants is incredibly bad. It's poorly put together and has very little of anything in it, besides one of the embers you need to upgrade your weapons, which, mind you, is in a pitch dark room with like 8 of these giant skeleton dudes. Seriously, what the actual fuck did FromSoft want us to do here? There's like no chance of surviving in this room. Are you just supposed to run in there, grab it, and die? And this leads me into the first real problem with the latter half, and that's the careless enemy placement and kind of just area design in general. And this is why I picked Lost Izalith and Tomb of Giants, mostly because of that room in Tomb of Giants, though there is another part of it that also is like that. Both of these areas give me a Dark Souls 2 vibe. when it comes to how the enemies are laid out. And what I mean by that is they're kind of just carelessly placed around. I don't know, you can just feel when they're just randomly placed. They're just fucking everywhere, and it's like, what the hell is this shit? This is terrible. Why did you do this? Why? This is fucking terrible. I hate it. It's so annoying because it's just an easy, annoying way for them to make the area a little bit harder, because I just put 8 of these big ass fucking skeleton guys in a tiny little room that you can't see anything in. Which I am aware that there is a lantern that you can get, but I don't care. Not being able to see anything in the Tomb of Giants is a stupid gimmick. I don't like it. I just feel like it's a cheap way to bump up the difficulty of the area, because without the not being able to see anything, the Tomb of Giants is not a very hard area. There's some big skeleton guys and a random ass Black Knight in there for some reason, but that's really it. There's nothing really going on in the Tomb of Giants, again, except for that Ember. I genuinely do not think there's like anything of real importance down there. Maybe like a spell or something, I don't fucking know. But really, there isn't. It just is there and is really poorly put together, and yeah, it's not good. You can just see how rushed it is compared to the much more detail-oriented areas of the first half. Now, if you do get past the first area of Tomb of Giants, then you'll end up in the last little area room thing before Nito's boss, where you have these weird worm things that shoot out of the ground, and you can kind of just run past them. They're completely useless. Nothing really crazy there. But then there's the area right before the fog gate, where they just put these infinitely respawning baby skeletons. Why did I say it like that? That was weird. And a shit ton of pinwheels. It just feels sloppy. When you maybe have a pinwheel or two before the fog gate, it really isn't that big of a deal. I mean, still just kind of reusing a random boss there, but it isn't a big deal. But when there's just a bunch of them randomly placed around, it really feels incredibly sloppy. And it is already a bit sloppy because they're just fucking reusing damn pinwheel. And yeah, if I could pick one word to sum up the Tomb of Giants, it would just be sloppy. I use sloppy a lot in that sentence. That was weird. But now, if you made it that far, you get to fight Gravelord Nito. And I'm pretty sure Miyazaki himself even said that this is his least favorite boss in the game, but don't quote me, I just think I read that somewhere. But yeah, I can get where he's coming from with that. This is a fucking terrible boss. And now personally, it isn't my least favorite. That title is reserved for someone else. It is probably the second worst boss in the game. Like, what the actual fuck is this boss? There really isn't anything to this boss. None of his moves are all that difficult, at least in my opinion. And if you find this boss hard, then that's perfectly fine. Or if you do enjoy this boss, then that's also perfectly fine as well. I'm not hating on anyone that enjoys it or finds it difficult. This is just how I feel about the boss. So no hate here from me. The only real part of this boss that is hard is avoiding the stupid skeletons in the goddamn boss arena. And everyone knows that there are big skeletons in the back, so no one goes back there. So they don't wake up and start fighting you. So then half of your boss gimmick is fucking gone because everyone knows how to just not trigger it. Fucking great boss design, FromSoft. You hit it out of the ballpark with this one. Perfect shit right there. This area is just one big disappointment for me. It was the first area I went to after the Lord Vessel, and I was really excited, and it ended up fucking sucking so hard. But I was still optimistic, and I thought, well, that area sucked, but surely it won't all be like that from here on out. Yeah, I was wrong. I was so goddamn wrong. See, I thought it would be an awesome idea to go to Lost Izalith next. Little did I know, this would be the worst thing I've ever done. See, if you thought the Tomb of Giants was bad, Lost Izalith makes the Tomb of Giants look like the best fucking area in the game. This shit is my least favorite area of any of the games, period. There is nothing good to say about this damn place. All the bosses are boring. Ceaseless Discharge, Centipede Demon, the bed of motherfucking chaos. All ass, 0 out of 10. I hate them. And I hate this area. Every single enemy here is just sporadically placed around. It's so ugly to look at. The fucking bright orange lava everywhere, especially in the damn dinosaur field where it's literally the goddamn floor, just sears my goddamn eyes every time I go into it. And then the stupid ring gimmick that you have to wear the orange charred ring, I think, so that you don't die from the lava. But it doesn't protect you from lava. No, it only, like, limits how much damage you take, I'm pretty sure. So while you're walking through this fucking field of dinosaurs or dragons, I don't really know. The bottom halves of them, I guess. Not the entire thing. Just the bottom halves of them. I think it's the dragons, which I don't know what the fuck is going on there. You just hear your character taking damage every fucking second as you're sludging through this goddamn lava with all these randomly placed dragon bottom halves. And there's like 100 of them just randomly placed. There is no sense to it, no meaning to it. It's all completely fucking just random placements, which you can say about literally every goddamn fucking thing in that area. And then you have to go through all that bullshit to get to the bed of chaos. Oh my god, this boss is terrible, and I think I'm gonna give myself a headache if I keep talking about this shit. I think you guys get the point that Lost Izalith fucking sucks ass. So let's talk about something a little less shit. The final boss. I touched on Gwyn in the earlier section, but I want to talk about him here because he is in the second half of the game, so of course I'm gonna talk about him. And yeah, it is truly a shame that the ending is rushed. Not as much as the other areas, but it does feel a bit rushed. I feel like it could have been more grand as a final boss. Because, to be honest, FromSoft has actually been pretty consistent at delivering solid final bosses in my opinion, but I do understand that this was only their second shot at it, and it's not bad for that. I just kind of wanted a bit more, and maybe that's just me being a greedy little guy. I mean, hell, it's better than whatever the fuck Dark Souls 2 final boss is. That shit's boring as hell. I don't want to get this frustrated with Dark Souls and scold it because I really do love the game, and they were so close to something even better. If they were able to keep up the consistency from the first half of the game and roll it over into the second half, then I truly feel that the game could have been so much better than it already is. But enough about my angry rant. It's time to wrap up this video. This is the part that confuses me about this game. I'm aware and very open about the not so great second half of the game, and I've admitted my distaste for the second half, but I don't care. Even though I really don't like the second half of the game, I still absolutely love the game, and it's one of my favorite of all time, which just doesn't make sense to me at all. If I only enjoy one half of the game, and I really don't like the second half of the game, it just doesn't make sense to me that I would enjoy the game as much as I do. And one of those reasons, as I touched on earlier, is definitely the world design, because again, it will always have a place in my heart, and it is one of my favorite worlds of any video game. It does give an almost open world feel inside a small package because of its non-linear approach. And I feel like no other FromSoft game, besides Elden Ring, because that's literally an open world game, so of course it has a non-linear feel, has truly hit that type of non-linear feel. I feel that the games after Dark Souls 1 started to stray away from the super non-linear gameplay style that Dark Souls 1 had, which I feel is the wrong way to go, because none of the other games have that non-linear feel like Dark Souls does, and it really shows, and I really don't like it. I really like the gameplay style of Dark Souls 1 with that really non-linear approach of just go wherever the hell you want, go at the game however you please, just go at it, man, who the fuck cares? Whereas the other games are more straight-lined, Dark Souls 2 kind of has some branching paths, but like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 and stuff are really just a straight line a lot. And because none of the other games had that non-linear feel like Dark Souls does, Dark Souls is able to scratch that non-linear itch that none of the other games can. The second reason is that this game changed my life. And I know it's a little crazy to say that a single game changed your life, but it really did. Because without Dark Souls, I would have never tried out the Souls series. I did play Elden Ring before Dark Souls, but Elden Ring didn't give me the same feeling, mostly because it was too hard for me at the time, because I sucked ass at playing games. Because of Dark Souls, I tried out Dark Souls 2, and then Bloodborne, then Dark Souls 3, then Sekiro, and then Elden Ring again. Because of Dark Souls, I'm here right now making this video. My view of video games right now all started because I played Dark Souls. Soulsborne games are my favorite series of all games ever because of Dark Souls.